This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello, welcome to this roundup edition of Red Side of the Trent here on a Sunday morning, joined by Lee Clark and Christian Brown. We're going to go through everything that's happened in the last week of Nottingham Forest and get a bit of a roundup, bit of some rumours, talk about some friendlies that we're not losing our heads over too much, I hope. Lee Clark, how are we?
Yeah, all good. Happy to be back on. Not been on for a little while, so lots to get stuck into, I should imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Christian, are you well?
Yeah, all good here. And also take a little moment to say happy birthday to yourself, Adam. Live on air to the masses. Happy birthday.
No, 33 and feeling ever so young.
At an age where you refuse to call yourself football manager, how's it feel?
No comment. Let's get into the boring stuff first, guys. We'll build up the excitement at least a little bit. Let's talk about the friendlies, Lee. I mean, we drew with Estoril. I mean, 0-0 seems to be the common theme here. I don't know what's happening going forwards, but drew 0-0 with Estoril before coming back to the UK and losing 1-0 to Birmingham City in a game which had a little bit more to it in terms of celebrating the life of Trevor Francis. Obviously played for both clubs, was a massive legend at Birmingham before coming to Forest and scored that goal, as we like to refer to. So what have you made of them friendlies, of what you've caught of and this new style that we seem to be trying in terms of keeping the ball a little bit more and building? I feel like it's people are jumping two-footed into conclusions that we're not very good at it so far.
Well, I mean, everyone likes to jump to conclusions from friendlies, don't they? And it's just mind-blowing, to be honest. Just because reports say that Nuno wants to adapt his style, it doesn't mean we're going to rock up against the Championship side and it all of a sudden look like Barcelona in 2005. I hate to break that to people, but that's just football. It doesn't work like that. In terms of my general overview of the friendlies, I'll be honest, I saw the Monaco game, paid 99p for the privilege of the Monaco game, and decided there was a reason I don't bother with friendlies. I mean, through a mixture of not really enjoying friendlies and being out either on games myself or being preoccupied with other bits and bobs, I've just not. I don't really. The thing is, people talk about last season's pre-season campaign being okay, and then look how the season panned out. I mean, after 3 games last season, we were wondering if 5 points was enough from our first 3 games because we had Liverpool and Chelsea to come. I mean, we've said before on this podcast, haven't we, that we've seen all sorts of pre-season campaigns. One where we've blown teams away, and then we've started and we've had a really indifferent start. We've seen ones where we've barely scored a goal in pre-season and then raced out the blocks and started really well. So I just think in this day and age, players are they don't want to get injured, do they? They don't want to give too much away. They don't want to overly exert themselves. Nuno will probably know roughly his starting 11 for that Brentford game. I think we've all said that our 11 right now is still pretty good, following on from last season. And obviously now we've got the Elanga replacement. So, I think the less we read into friendlies, the better for me.
This is a revolving conversation we have every single season. Christian, do you think Nuno is subliminally telling the recruitment team and Marinakis that we need fullbacks at the moment? Obviously, Olorina not been involved in the last 2 due to a knock, according to the media. But no, Nico Williams obviously still. I think he's still injured as well. So a little bit of a concern in that area, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's something we've all highlighted, isn't it? Sort of lack of depth at fullback areas. I mean, for Omar Richards on the bench yesterday, weren't even go to Portugal, so it was a bit like, oh, okay. yeah, I mean, there's still work to do for the recruitment team, of course. I mean, obviously, I know we're planning over the squad list later. I still think we need about 7 or 8, to be honest. But there's still plenty of time for that to happen. I think, like Lee touched upon, the actual starting 11's pretty much there. Obviously, that might change if Louise comes in, for example. But we are basically looking for depth players. That was always the case anyway. Really, for Forest, the plan was to keep hold of the best players and try and strengthen the team to have a better squad, so Nuno trusts it more. So yeah, I'm not overly too concerned. Obviously, it's a little bit strange seeing Cunha and Morato at fullback positions yesterday, but no, it's nothing. Again, like Lee said, people do harp on about preseason far too much. It's a glorified training exercise. I mean, Birmingham start a season next week. They're naturally going to be more sharp than we were anyway. I mean, I've always said like the only friendly you really take any sort of half notice to is the last one, because that's when your team's playing about 80%. And to be honest, we've still created a lot of chances yesterday. It was just poor execution. It was a poor final ball, the final thing at the end. I mean, Keith made a good few saves towards the end. When Taiwo came on, Gibbs White probably should have scored at least one. It wasn't like we weren't creating chances. I think that's if we was literally just rocking up to these games and not doing anything, just like standing still, going through the motions and losing like 5-0, that's maybe slightly different. But no, by all accounts, Forest, we've only not going through the motions, but at half speed, we're still pretty competitive against a team. A lot of people are tipping to win the league or be top 2 anyway. So it's not this doom and gloom thing. I'm not going to treat a friendly against Birmingham City as like a bloody Champions League knockout tie, for example. But yeah, there's obviously work to be done in the market, and I'm sure that will come.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the highlights, but what I did like, I mean, both of you can come in on this, is how lean and sharp Taiwo Awoniyi actually looks. He actually looked quite quick yesterday, like back to when in the second season we came back and he started as he'd left off, Lee, where he was bullying defenders. He was quick, he was sharp. Maybe he's had that time of in the summer of recovering from that injury, and he's come back with a bit of a point to prove. Because let's face it, we have wrote him off quite a little bit of this last season or so, because he just didn't look like he was up to Premier League standard.
Yeah, it might be a bit of an unpopular theory, this, but I think ultimately he's a pro, isn't he? He's a professional footballer. He'll know that. I think looking at the players that are coming in, that he's obviously slipped down the pecking order again. Ultimately, he needs to keep fit and sharp for any potential move, doesn't he? I mean, if he doesn't get one and we end up keeping him, then I don't think it's overly a bad thing. The more options we can have from the bench that are proven at this level, which, despite what some people might want to say and think he is, because of that first season in the Prem, he's shown that he can bully defenders and score goals if given the opportunities at this level. But I think his days of being our number one striker and starting every game are gone. So I do think if an opportunity comes for him to go somewhere else and do that, then he needs to be sharp and ready for that. So again, that might be me being quite boring in terms of the pre-season campaign and the friendlies, but I don't think Taiwo was ever going to come back in any other shape than a really positive one, because he's had that injury, he's needed to recover. He's had that couple of extra weeks at the end of the season to get a bit sharper. So, yeah, I do anticipate. I think it'll go late into the window, but I do anticipate that if an offer comes forward, he might leave. And it could possibly be one of those where he goes on loan for a little bit first, and then with like an obligation to buy or something. But yeah, I do feel like he's slipped so far out of Nuno's thinking now that his days might be numbered a little bit, I think.
Do you have a little different opinion on that, Christian, at all? Because I see there's potentially a scenario where Nuno opts for a formation where we could play 2 up top at some point in the season. We've seen it already with Jesus and Wood starting together, actually. Maybe Jesus coming off the left slightly or just behind, and bit of a free roll. But could that be a scenario you see happening?
Yeah, possibly. We saw it again yesterday, didn't we? Obviously, when he took the wingers off and put it was Wood and Taiwo up front towards the end of the game. It's possible. I mean, I think it's interesting. We're experimenting with sort of 4-4-2 diamond, if you like. I know obviously it felt part forced because obviously we only had one winger. Well, it depends if you count Joshua as a winger or not. But obviously now Ndoye signed, Ndoye, how he signed it's slightly different. But it's interesting that he still reverted back to that shape towards the end of the game yesterday. I think it's good. I think that we have that sort of tactical versatility. So, I mean, let's put it this way: if Taiwo can play like we know he can or could, then of course he's going to be an asset to keep. I completely see where Lee's coming from. I think that I know we're obviously very sentimental and very emotionally attached towards Taiwo because of what he's given us and what he's been through. But you look at it from a cold, ruthless business perspective, all of us are pretty much saying sell and move on towards the end of the season prior to that injury. So it is an interesting one. I mean, there's nothing more I'd love than to see him like come back and start scoring goals next season for Forest. That'd be fantastic, even off the bench. If he can prove to be a valuable squad player, that'd be great for Forest as well. He's just something completely different. It's just whether the Forest team can trust his body to do so. But whether it's him or someone else, I fully expect us to have at least 3 strikers come September the 1st. Whether that's Woods, Jesus, or Taiwo now, or Wood, Jesus, or someone else remains to be seen. But I mean, he absolutely can play a part. It's just whether the team trusts him to do so.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what we're doing in terms of that. But I'm just going to say a good morning to everyone. Gary Baldy Nerd, good morning. Ultraflex says it's a great start to a Sunday. We've got 148 people in here. If you don't mind dropping us a like, subscribe, it's all free. We also have membership in place if you want to consider joining. We've got a few bits and bobs coming up. We've got where Michael Manson on there. I'm dropping stuff fairly early now as well, if it gets all kind of uploaded and people get early access to all that good stuff. Moving on, we have made a signing. I mean, everyone's been calling him Ndoye. It's actually just Doy, and I feel absolutely so sorry for all commentators coming to commentate on a Forest game, especially Colin Fraser do it every single week. And I mean, I spoke to David Jackson and then messaged him after the announcement of the signing, and I was just like, oh God, I feel so sorry for you all. So yeah, exciting times. Christian, I mean, you openly said how worried you were, obviously losing Anthony Elanga, said that we were potentially losing a sinking ship. Obviously, then now the scenario and the narrative has now changed because we've kept Gibbs White and now we've signed a winger and kind of got back to where we was previously when we had Anthony Elanga as such of a struggle. Actually, it's technically slightly stronger because we've had a Jair and Igor Jesus as well. So what's your impressions of signing Ndoye? Obviously, we have spoke about him previously, but now he's in the building. How excited are you to see him in action?
Very much so, yeah. Obviously, it's a completely different scenario to when we last spoke. When I was last on, obviously, Forest had sold Elanga and Gibbs White in 48 hours. Fast forward 2 weeks, Gibbs White's still here. He signed a new deal, and we've signed a replacement winger. So we've gone from a position of actually seem like a sinking ship and being off-putting to targets to actually now being, all of a sudden, it's no surprise to me that as soon as that Gibbs White domino fell, everything starts to fall into place since Ndoye suddenly signs. That was a willy won't he with Napoli for quite a while, and then things like this do matter. And if you're looking at a team now, and Brentford will have the same issues. If you're looking at a team now and you're seeing their star players go left, right, and centre, you're thinking, I don't want to get any part of that whatsoever, because footballers are ambitious. People don't like losing, especially ones who have got to that level. They don't like being in a position where they're going to be vulnerable. And Forest, whether we want to admit it or not, at that moment in time, once we sold those 2 players within 48 hours, we were in a massive position of weakness. And I know you were saying about how it would be nice if someone would come in and go, I'll take that responsibility. They don't see it that way. The targets we were looking at do not see it that way. So, and Ndoye fell into that category. So I'm delighted he signs. I think he looks a really exciting player to work with. Obviously very versatile down both sides. We had issues with Langer playing on the left, for example. He seems very comfortable down that left-hand side, for example. So, yeah, it looks very strong. I think what I find it very funny, though, is the whole Spurs reaction to what's happened in the last 2 weeks or so. All we did was hold a mirror up to them to highlight that despite winning a trophy for the first time in 18 years, they're still a small club. I don't seem to like that very much. So, and you can have your brand spanking new stadium. They're still the imposters in the Sky Six. They've still got the most unambitious chairman in the league. Players see that thing, and they can hoover up the bottom half of the league Avengers as best they like. Obviously, Palhinha's a new one that's coming in now. Obviously, it was at Fulham beforehand. Kudus was the last one before that, and then obviously I had Johnson, Solanke. They can keep doing that. They will never win anything else of any major significance. And yeah, I think if they had a chairman like Marinakis who they keep slating, they wouldn't have gone on a trophy drought like that and would have signed Gibbs White. But they lost our gain. yeah, very happy with how things are looking now, because we're now back on track. That's why I say we're now in a position where we are back on track, where we replaced the one we all knew we'd have to sell at least one key player. I think that was pretty much inevitable, especially after missing out Champions League the way we did. We've now done that, and now we're in a position where we can actually strengthen and build on, or at least try to maintain what we can be. And yeah, really, really pleased with the signing of Ndoye.
I mean, Lee, anything to add on the signing of Ndoye? Do you see that now as, like what Christian says, it could be a domino effect where more players now start coming in and we start to really look at our bench, hopefully in the next, by maybe Brentford or Crystal Palace, say, for our second game of the season, where you go, wow, well, we've got some options now.
Yeah, I just think it's really positive that we've spent the big money on the actual replacement for him. I think I said from the off that it would be a lot easier to understand the concept of selling Elanga if the replacement was of adequate quality, and it looks like this kid is. So nice age, nice profile, done it in a big league. I know there's this little myth that people say, oh, he's got to do it in the Premier League, but he's won a cup in Italy with a team that's not one of the typical... it's like Palace winning the FA Cup, isn't it? Let's face it. Maybe not quite to that extreme, because Bologna were in the Champions League maybe 2 seasons ago, I think it was. But yeah, it's very similar. It's not a big six in Serie A. So yeah, lots to like. It's a decent outlay. I just hope we've seen what happened the last time we signed an overseas player for in excess of 30 million. So hopefully his first dribble that goes awry or his first bad pass doesn't result in everyone demanding that Jimmy Sinclair comes in for 5 starts and that sort of stuff. So yeah, he'll need a bit of time, but there's lots to like about the signing. So yeah, looking forward to seeing him in action.
And then just answering my second question, do you think this now starts that conveyor belt of players coming in? I mean, obviously we've been linked with quite a fair few, which we will get onto, but do you see that as a good thing that we've got him across the line now?
Yeah, because I think it just strengthens the 11. I think from the start of the summer, we've all said we need more depth. And I think if the season was to start tomorrow, the 11 would be pretty good. And I don't think anyone would argue with the 11. But the issue would be if like we experienced last season, if we go behind in games, you look at the bench, there wasn't much on there. But if we can get some players like, obviously, if Luis comes in, if Traore, we've been linked with, comes in, the bench will all of a sudden start to look stronger as well. So in theory, I suppose the players that we're targeting now should be easier to sign than Ndoye. So yeah, it's quite exciting. I think it'll be a busy 2 weeks before the season starts, to be honest.
Still on the Adam.
Oh my goodness, I'm terrible. I just wanted to ask you both this question because you've not been on for a little while and not had the chance to last on the pod. Start with yourself, Lee. What did you make of the Marinakis and Gibbs-White interview and all that sort of thing? Because obviously it went viral. We're now a meme club and we're holding players hostage and we're doing this and that and we're snitching on other football clubs in Europe as well. We are becoming the most hated team in the Premier League, which I actually quite enjoy, to be honest. I don't know, I'm a bit sadistic like that, maybe.
I mean, the interview was a little bit unorthodox, wasn't it? I think, yeah, it was different. You don't typically see players sign a new contract and then it get announced on pitch side after a pre-season friendly and then do an immediate interview with the chairman the owner watching over every single word. I don't know. People just like to have a go at Marinakis, don't they? He's unusual. He does things that he thinks are normal practice. Maybe they would be in, say, Greece or Portugal, wherever he's got other clubs. I don't know. You kind of, in this country, you kind of have to ask permission from the likes of Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville to check that everything you're doing is kosher and they're happy with it. It's like go back to the Clattenburg stuff. I remember Christian saying at the time, like, if it becomes a successful thing for having a referee analyst and Man United go and get one, Gary Neville would love it. But because it's Clattenburg and it's Forest and it's Marinakis, yeah, everything's kind of frowned upon as being unique and different. So it was a bit unusual, but once again, it's like storming a teacup stuff for me. It's just one of them things, isn't it? I mean, he mentioned Gibbs-White did mention Mr. Marinakis quite a lot, didn't he? And Marinakis had to go and utter the line that's going to be thrown at us all season when he said we always win. But I think he just meant in terms of nailing players down to new contracts. But obviously, the fans of the other 19 clubs won't see it like that. So I fully expect every time we lose this season for that picture with "we always win" as the subtitle underneath to be doing the rounds. But it is what it is. He's our owner. We've got a lot to be thankful for, and we wouldn't have him any other way, would we?
No, I mean, I see it as like someone that's clearly quite passionate for the football club, and he walks the walk. He doesn't just talk the talk. To be fair, Christian, I mean, you obviously you were quite close to coming on that pod when that all got announced, but you was away, and I just thought better off not doing that. But you've got your opportunity now to give it to Tottenham, like you already have done anyway. But like it I think it's good. I generally think it's good. It's better than what Fawaz was doing, arguing with bleeding fans on Twitter all the time and throwing Spider-Man memes at everyone.
God, yeah, I mean, it's a million miles better than that. Yeah, I mean, the interview was a little strange. I don't, again, like they said, why is this happening? He's just played like 45 minutes at least. He's absolutely shattered in pre-season. He's blowing out of his arse, and suddenly Marinakis stood next to him saying, right now, contract talk time. He's probably like absolutely shattered, poor guy. But no, I mean, it was remarkable, really, the turnarounds. Yeah, it was just us going back to the whole light thing. I couldn't care less. No, I think this is what makes me laugh, is I've seen quite a few Spurs fans go, "I used to have so much respect for Forest, and no, I don't," and blah blah blah. I could not give expletive. I really couldn't. Like, we aren't in this league to be liked. We aren't in this league to be everyone's favourite, like, neutral club. We aren't in this league to, make up the numbers, because that's ultimately what they want. They want teams that will come up, be 6 easy points, and then go away, and then, oh, that's really nice and sweet. We saw it with look at Klopp, for example. Look how he patronised us in that cup game when we beat them 1-0. Sorry, they beat us 1-0. Sorry, he's like, oh, what a ground! It's a European night, and we beat them 1-0 in the league. He didn't say a single word. He just walked straight down the tunnel. Like, we aren't here to be their mates. We aren't here to be, this like cannon fodder for the Sky Six or whatever it is. And like I said, it is quite funny. It is us that's sort of thrown a punch back and landed one. Also, I mean, I have no doubt as well, had Levy actually done this fairly and legally, it probably would have gone through. But because he didn't and hasn't, like Lee tweeted, so they put 19 Klarna payments to actually hit the bill rather than actually matching this payment structure that was probably required in the release clause, booked a medical anyway, and then told the whole media he was signing. I mean, sorry, no, he got played by his own game and lost. It was really fun with the Spurs fans saying to us, "Oh, do you not know who you're dealing with?" Yeah, we do. Someone who spent £47.5 million on Brennan Johnson and then just got his arse handed to him with Morgan Gibbs-White. We know exactly who we're dealing with. So, yeah, I mean, it's a massive. I think for the club, though, it's a big statement. Just to to keep your best players in that sort of fashion. I mean, like, it would have been absolutely catastrophic if we lost Elanga and Gibbs-White in that short time frame. Like, we were saying between ourselves, weren't we? That we were saying, oh, Brentford have had ex-players raided, Bournemouth have had ex-players raided. They have, but not so quickly. It's, they had time to sort of get replacements, or try to. Obviously, Brentford still haven't done so, but Bournemouth have. Obviously, they got Truffet very quickly after selling Kirkheads. They got Petrovic in very quickly after realising Kepa was going to Arsenal, for example. We hadn't done any of that. Ndoye signed now, 3 weeks after we sold Elanga? And you look at Gibbs-White, we were linked with Jacob Ramsey, that never got off the grounds. We were linked with McAtee, we had bids rejected for him. So, we would have been very stuck had Marinakis not interfered in the way he has done. And we've got to be so like grateful for that, really. He was this isn't like supreme leader sort of thing, all glory to the Hypnotoad. This is actually like genuine. We could have been in a really bad situation. He single-handedly prevented that. So yeah, very, very pleased. Also very pleased it's us that have shone the magnifying glass over Spurs to make them realise that they are actually a small club, and that no amount of shirt sales in Asia will change that. No amount of anything will change that. They've got an owner who cares more about spreadsheets and does winning trophies. That's a fact. And while you have that set up, you will always be the imposter in this self-imposed Sky Six, whatever else. Again, you'll never see an Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, or Liverpool fans say they're part of this Cartel Six or Sky Six. It's only ever Spurs do, and they only ever do it to mask their insecurities that they're actually a small club. We can all see that, and we've proved it.
I mean, from one genius move from Marinakis in terms of keeping our star player, he's managed to flog Matt Turner to Leon, who inadvertently didn't want him, Lee, and have now flogged him to New England Revolution. I mean, a quick word on Matt Turner, because Christian might steal all the airtime, to be fair.
A quick word, blimey. I think Gary Neville called him useless, didn't he? I mean, useless with his feet is pretty apt. I think, again, if I could try and be a little bit positive, he seemed a good character for the dressing room, but as a goalkeeper at this level, being a number one, yeah, really, really poor. One of the worst I've seen in Golf Forest in my lifetime, not just in the Prem. And I know people will point to some of the complete, well, really poor goalkeepers we've had in the Championship and even in League One. But yeah, he did far. I don't remember a goalkeeper doing so many more bad things than good things. Yeah, he was just really poor. I saw people saying, "Oh, could we not have just kept him as a number two?" I mean, do you want to progress as a football club or not at this level? I mean, could we not have just kept him as a number two? Yeah, and then Sells breaks his arm in the first game and he's in goal for the rest of the season. I mean, yeah, no, get rid of him. It says it all. He's gone to Leon. They don't want him, and he's gone to probably the only MLS club in America that will have him because he started his career there. So, yeah. Let's just move on. Let's just park that period. It's a rare blemish on this recruitment team's time at the club. So, yeah, let's just move on. And I dread to think what Christian's got to add, to be fair.
I mean, Christian, 8 million is absolutely ridiculous for us. But also, I don't want to throw Michael Mansion in under the bus here, but even he was a bit reserved in talking about him when he was with him at New England.
Yeah, that was quite funny, wasn't it? I mean, in terms of going, I mean, was it Alexa playing No One Mourns the Wicked, followed by the Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead, and then move on. 8 million, scandalous. I can't believe we've got that. I think it's euros rather than pounds, but even so, it's pretty much what we paid for him. I think we paid 7 million for him, which was desperation in its own right. So the fact we've lost 250 grand on quite possibly the worst modern day signing in Nottingham Forest history is pretty sensational, to be honest. I'm just glad it's over more than anything else. I'm glad it's done. Just draw a line under it and move on. I honestly, like, even watching those highlights back, you still just get like shudders just from how bad he actually was. The nervousness, like, from the team, the fans. No, I mean, I still think that the United game, where he kicks it to Rashford and they scores, had we drawn that game, I genuinely don't think he would have been allowed to leave West Bridgeford. I reckon it was like the anger around me was that much in Upper Bridgeford. Like, it was just pure fury aimed in his direction until we scored again, and it sort of subsided. And against Arsenal, it was very similar when Jesus pretty much on the bloody goal line, on the other side of the post, someone cuts it across, and he kicks it into his own net. Just glad it's over. Just glad it's over. He's not a problem anymore. And yeah, I'm sure he's a nice bloke. Good luck to him. Yeah, he won't be missed.
I mean, something that might be an area of concern now, because obviously it's come out that Carlos Miguel's been asked. He's been told that he can seek a club elsewhere, and he didn't go to Portugal. And I mean, I thought he was decent against Chesterfield. I know it's friendly there, and very good against Monaco, I thought. I'm very surprised that that's kind of happened. So I can see us potentially getting another goalkeeper, because I can't really see us relying on Aaron Botley for a second choice, really. He's quite a young lad. He doesn't look very big. Like, when I watched him again at Chesterfield, he looks quite a small lad to be a goalkeeper, to be fair.
Yeah, I think he'd be third choice, won't he? Yeah, I suppose if Miguel goes, then we do need someone else. I don't see a second choice goalkeeper being too difficult to sign. I think we'd probably look for. I mean, we got Sells for 4 million, didn't we? So we might even in the short term look for another signing of that nature. Someone who's in the 30s, who, you know, is maybe playing second choice already at his current club. I know Reece has said before, you kind of need 2 goalkeepers who are capable of playing, but our first choice keeper's just won the Golden Glove, hasn't he? So ultimately, it's going to be a tough sell for anyone that we're going to sign between the posts. So yeah, I think we will get someone, but I don't anticipate it being a big name. I know that there's this fairy tale that what was the guy's name who's just signed for Leeds? I can't remember his name. Is it Perry? Lucas Perry?
Yeah.
There was a bit of a fairy tale that he would come in and be second choice, and then when Sells sacks it off in a couple of years' time, that's just not going to happen. The fact that if Sells had been indifferent last season, that might have been a purchase to make. But the fact he's kind of, announced himself as not only the number one goalkeeper but one of the best in the league, it just wasn't going to happen. I hate to break it to people, he wasn't going to. With how good he is, he's going to be going somewhere and playing, and that's what he's going to do at Leeds. So, yeah, it'll be someone. Might even be a free agent or something like that who's knocking about. Maybe not Hennessy because he's obviously retired now, but a goalkeeper similar ilk to that sort of signing, just to sit on the bench and be capable of standing in and playing the odd cup game if needed, I think.
Can I just ask a random question? I mean, this is. Feel free to really knock me down, because I heard some people suggest this, and I didn't think it was too outrageous because of the whole homegrown quota type thing. There was a suggestion of potentially bringing Carl Darlow back to be number 2. Would you see that as a viable option, Lee?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Yeah, I guess he does meet the homegrown quota, but I don't know. Would Leeds sell him? Meslier is going to go, isn't he? I think now he'll want to play. Yeah, I don't know. I think Leeds will probably want to keep him as their number 2. But yeah, if the opportunity arose, I wouldn't be averse to that particular signing.
Yeah, fair. Moving on. Links now. We've been linked. Go on, Christian. Go on.
On the keeper thing, I think to make our Palace friends even more happy, I wouldn't be shocked to see Miguel go at Botafogo, if I'm being perfectly honest. Which, owned by our favourite John Textor. I think that's his dad played for Botafogo as well, so it makes a lot of sense. He's going to go on his way out anyway. I can't see anyone in Europe taking him because he hasn't really proven anything. He's only played about 4 games. I was a bit surprised. I thought he played well in the friendly so far. Contrary to what Lee just said, I would quite like us to go for a younger goalkeeper who would maybe like a 20, 21-year-old who has already been playing, has already shown some promise. Similar to a guy Sunderland just signed, actually, from the Dutch league. I can't remember what his name is now, but he's only like 20, 21, looks quite handy. He'll be coming in his first choice. I quite like that sort of, someone's really pushed out as a young guy, and then when Sells is 2-3 years older, you've got a ready-made replacement right there who's 24, so 25, that'd be really handy. As for Darlow, I mean, if it takes a quota, yeah, it's not terrible. He's a pretty safe pair of hands for cup games and whatnot. It's just, like Lee said, if Sells was to get hurt, would you trust him playing 38 Premier League games? Probably not.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I've always liked the idea of getting Guillaume Restes in from Toulouse, but I think he'd want to play personally. I mean, but he'd be an outstanding goalkeeper to go after. But moving swiftly on, Christian, we're going to talk about some links, and we have been heavily linked with Douglas Luiz and Yusuf Musa from I can't even remember what club he's at, to be honest. The American. Is he at Milan? I couldn't remember if he was at Milan or not, but he was at Valencia previously, wasn't he? So yeah, no, Douglas Luiz, and it looks like from various reports, though I'm not sure how reliable they are, it looks like that could be very, very close, surprisingly. I mean, would you see him as someone that can play not just as a 6, but as an 8 too, because he's got a lot of technical ability in that area, good set piece taker as well, which we desperately need.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the short answer, yes. Interestingly, I think he is better as an 8. I think when he was at Villa and when they got into Champions League, he had Boubacar Kamara next to him, who was doing more of the legwork defensively than he was. And that was allowing him to free up and move up the pitch and make a few more things happen. But yeah, obviously, a paper, fantastic signing. I know Edu's wanted him for a long time at Arsenal. Arteta wasn't quite so sure. Probably wasn't defensive enough for Arteta, going by the signings they've made in the last 2 years. But yeah, for us, that could be a real needle mover, I think. If we get I know obviously he had a pretty rough ride in Turin. Motta signed him. Motta didn't really trust him very well. He had a pretty disastrous Champions League game. I can't remember who it was against. He gave a penalty and an own goal away in the same game, which obviously isn't what you want to hear. But there was a reason why he was a £50 million player when he moved. Villa only had to sell him for PSR reasons as well. So, yeah, I think that would be a really, really big signing for Forest. If we can get that Villa player back, then, yeah, we really would be cooking up something very good. personally, though, even the Musa link, okay, it wouldn't be as strong as Douglas Luiz, for example, but this is someone that the club's admired for 3 years. When Cooper was in charge, we were linked with Musa. I remember when we went to Valencia for that pre-season friendly, there was talk that we might even try and do a deal out there for him and sign him that January. In the end, we got Danilo. But so yeah, he's obviously been very high on the radar for quite a while. So if that was to come in, that would be a long-term target. That would have the Serie A seal of approval. Either or will be fine. For me personally, I think we need 2 midfielders anyway. I think because if we are going to have this 3 in midfield, even as a sub option, where we go 4-3-1-2 or whatever else, or if we go for a flat 4-3-3 and we want more midfield-minded players, I personally would like to. I'd like to see us try and, if we can't get McAtee, which doesn't look like it's going to happen because there seems to be a bit of an impasse on the fee, I'd like for us to try and get Fernandes from Southampton. I think that'd be quite a good one to get in the building. Someone you could really trust, maybe replacing Gibbs White with as well. Now Anderson's found his home as a number 8 rather than number 10. So in an ideal world, whether we can make it possible or not due to budgets or whatnot, I'd quite like us to sign Luiz and Fernandes. I think because it's similar to back. Like if we're looking at all these influx of defenders we've got, no one really bats an eyelid because it's like, okay, well, Nuno plays 3 at the back. Sometimes it sort of makes a bit more sense. Same in midfield. If you're going 3 in midfield, you need like really 2 people per position. So if you've got Sangare, Luiz, Anderson, Dominguez, potentially Fernandes, and Yates, then you're pretty much covered all round, aren't you? So I'd like to see that happen if possible. Yeah.
I mean, Lee, do you agree with Christian? I mean, he's pretty much agreed with you there, Christian. We need fullbacks then afterwards. Would that represent good business there? And that would be a very, very strong midfield and a lot of different types of midfielder, you'd say. I mean, it would give us a lot of opportunity to line up in different ways, I guess.
Well, yeah, I suppose if we're going to play 3, you look at the midfield area and you need 6 options, wouldn't you, I suppose? So, yeah, I guess I'd probably agree. I think I'd probably like being greedy, I suppose I'd like to. But, I don't know. I sense we might only sign 1. One might come later on in the window, I guess. But, I think Douglas Luiz would be a great signing just because he is proven at this level. Everyone talks about the Premier League experience. And at 27, you're probably looking at him as though a player, he's going to be in his prime, isn't he? So there'll be no settling in period. He comes straight in, a bit of a plug and play option, to quote Football Manager. But I think, if we could get another, great. I think we've said before, if we want to progress, you've got to always look to have better players than you've currently got. So if we can sign 2 players, if one was Douglas Luiz, looks very close. Sounds like Fernandes is itching for a move abroad, but it's just if a club comes from abroad. If one doesn't come and Southampton decide they do want to get rid of him and the right offer comes in, then I'm sure he would. Forest being in Europe, I'm sure he would look at us as a club that he would come to eventually. So we might have to play the long game with that one a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. I think if we can get 2 obviously that are slightly different to each other, then it can only benefit us going forward.
If we was to get 2, I mean, would that would really knock Ryan Yates down the pecking order, wouldn't it? Would you ever see him still getting game time? I know he's the club captain and everything, but ability-wise, compared to the 2 we've just spoke about in terms of Fernandes and Luiz, I really would struggle to see where he fits in other than as an emergency, maybe.
Do you know, Adam, I knew you'd ask the $1 million question. I knew when we talked about the midfield ranks, as soon as Christian mentioned...
He raised it, this in mind, didn't he?
As soon as Christian mentioned needing 2, I knew you'd ask. I mean, it's no secret. Is he capable of playing week in, week out at this level? Nuno doesn't think so, because he doesn't play him very often. So I think if you want to evolve as a football club, again, this is not a slight on Ryan Yates, the person. Ryan Yates, the midfielder, if we want to evolve as a football club, you're right. He's much like we mentioned with Taiwo earlier, he slips down the pecking order. If you get 1 in, he slips a little bit down it. If you get 2 in, he slips a long way off the radar for me. Will he still get games this season? Of course he will, because we're in 4 competitions. So of course he'll still get games. But yeah, to answer your question, when it comes to the Premier League campaign and our midfield engine room, none of us could see where he fitted in last season with somewhat limited options. So yeah, it looks like Nuno likes Sangare. He clearly likes Dominguez. Anderson is a no-brainer. He plays every game. So, yeah, I mean, even before you've mentioned Douglas Luiz, potentially Musa or Fernandez, Ryan Yates' first-team opportunities do look restricted. So I don't think that's anything groundbreaking, to be honest.
The thing for me, I'm sorry to interject, is that we saw this last season. Forest, if we are looking to become, we're moving away from being a 40% team and 40% possession team, we're looking to have more of a ball. It's going to be hard to play Yates. And I don't mean this disparagingly. We saw it in the Exeter game in the Cup, when Forest were expected to dominate the ball and he couldn't do it. We've said before in this podcast about being too horrible towards him. What would take Danilo or, Sangare or Dominguez one touch, Yates takes 3 or 4 for? That's not a slight on him as a bloke. It's just a clear limitation in his game. Can Ryan Yates be part of a team that actually controls the ball more? I don't think he can be personally, but it's also worth it. It's a big but. Every time he's been written off, he's found a way to prove us wrong. He's always evolved year on year on year on year on year. He has done that consistently ever since he's walked through the doors at the club. And with the attitude he has, which is world class, he will continue to have that same sort of approach. So that is the next challenge for him. Can he actually be in a side and benefit a team that will have more of the ball? Can he influence play? Well, we've seen him. He can make some very nice passes. We saw it in pre-season against Chesterfield. Lovely line breaking ball for Jota Silva down the wing, for example. He can do it. It's just, can he do it consistently and at Premier League level? Massive challenge for the season. Because if not, and yeah, like Lee says, he'll be playing because we've got a lot of games to playing. But will he be starting? Different matter entirely.
I mean, the only way I see him playing is if when we play the bigger sides and it's more counter attack and we need to see games out, because he is good at doing that. He seems to be good at that part of the game.
He was for most of the season. He wasn't towards the end. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that Palace game we came on, for example.
It was a disaster.
It was like a raffle winner on the pitch. So,
yeah.
I see what you're saying, though. I do see what you're saying.
But I have to ask the questions, guys. It's part of the debate, isn't it? Like I can't not put you in sticky situations. And then just to round up, I just wanted to put the squad update up as well. So this is now, it looks a little bit more healthy now. Obviously, I put Miguel and Jota in purple because they look like they might be leaving. I've took out the CDM kind of role, but it's looking a little bit more healthy, at least for the start of the season. But there's still definitely some big gaps there to fill, as we've already just reiterated. So, yeah, fullback is a big concern, because watching the games where we've not had natural fullbacks has been part and part, like just night and day from what it was last season, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any comments to make, Lee.
I mean, I've mentioned in the group chat before, I genuinely think one of our fullbacks will be, I think we'll use our Premier League loan. I'll be totally honest with you, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see Moreno come back. I don't know why. I've just got an inkling that he's not got a club yet. I don't think he's wanted at Villa. I just think if we get to the desperation point, I mean, if it gets to the end of the window and he's still not got a club, I think he was good in the dressing room. I think he was a good character. He was part of the whole vibes situation. That wouldn't surprise me. I think we need an option there. It's the same as what we've said about the keeper situation. It's just if they get injured, and obviously with how we want to play, you'd anticipate that Aina and Williams will get to a point where they need a bit of a rest. But I do think, forgetting the Moreno stuff, I think we'll use a Premier League loan on at least one of the fullbacks, I think. I just don't see... Williams' form last season's made it really awkward, because I think we would have gone out and got Truffert, that's gone to Bournemouth. But I think the fact that he's pinned down that left-back position made that deal almost impossible, because he clearly wants to come in and play. And yeah, Williams is nailed on for that spot. So yeah, lots to take place there, but I don't see that being a quick fix, just because of the whole how cemented Aina and Williams both are.
I mean, I'm surprised we've not gone for Kyle Walker-Peters as a free from Southampton, could play both sides. I mean, that would have been an interesting one. So, yeah,
would have been homegrown too.
Definitely, yeah, and proven at this level to an extent, I guess, as well. I mean, Christian, have you got anything to add to this squad chat?
That's an interesting one. I mean, obviously we were linked with that Maffeo for a while, weren't we? We didn't want to budge behind on 5 billion if reports to be believed.
And the
it's
chap
tough.
from Verona, I think, wasn't there?
Yeah, you are. The right back one's interesting because Ina's obviously approaching his 30s. Williams, not so much. Williams, I think if you got like a left back, say 29, 30, that could do a job that you're relatively okay with, you probably go, okay, yeah, it's not too bad. Because obviously Williams has still got age in his size. This guy can come in here and there when needs be, especially so many games this season, and someone you can trust when he's injured or suspended. Big bonus you can have. With Ina, it's a bit different because he sort of needs. It's not much point getting a more experienced player because he's edging towards 30 as well. He's sort of on a younger right back, really. I know we've got Moreira, but he seems like he needs a lot more experience before he can be considered for first team football, really. For me, it's 2 fullbacks, 2 wingers, and 2 midfielders. That's the main focus. Oh, and a goalkeeper. Actually, yeah, given the goalkeeper situation, that looks really weak. Actually, let's say Sells tears his hamstring making a save against Fiorentina for some bizarre reason, because it's a very acrobatic save because he's an acrobatic bloke. We're in big trouble because you're looking there, you're thinking, okay, Miguel's clearly not trusted, but kid, it's So you're looking at least 7, least 7.
Yeah, a lot of activity to still go. I mean, Jimmy Sinclair could be well needed. I'm not going to lie to you. He could, and he looks all right, to be fair. But again, another kid, like it's just whether he'll sink or swim. So definitely interesting one. Just to round off, guys, we're gonna. But this has been so boring for the last several weeks. It's the whole Crystal Palace thing and like this cast deadline. That's what I don't know what's happened with that. Lee, what have you got to say about it? Because it just seems like we're getting every name under the sun thrown at us, from snitch to disgrace. I ain't got a clue. I just feel like it's very boring now.
I mean, Christian got into this. I don't know why I reply to these sort of people on Twitter. It's proper going for Marinakis again, and like he was saying something like that. Oh, they didn't know they had to do it. Well, I'm sorry. It's like the example I gave him was, it's like saying you get caught speeding, you're doing 60 and a 40, and you say, I'm ever so sorry, officer, but there was nothing on the road. I didn't realise I needed to still go at 40. I mean, I get it. They didn't think they had to submit it, but you do. They got told that they had to submit it, and they didn't. That has nothing to do with Marinakis. Where we come into it is we benefit. If this was Aston Villa waiting for that spot, would they all hate Villa's owner? No, they wouldn't. It'd be a completely different kettle of fish altogether. That podcast that Steve Parish did with Gary Lineker was purely done to stir the pot to get us all the flack. That was the sole reason of that podcast. Where is us? Look at us. If Forest weren't waiting in the wings and writing letters for clarification and stuff like that, they'd have just let us in. Absolute nonsense. They broke the laws with UEFA. Now they've got to face the repercussions. It's just absolutely ridiculous. Like the message that's just flashed up there. They need someone to vilify, and they've picked Marinakis because, with all due respect to him, he's got a history with that sort of stuff. You know, he likes to go at Rebel City, as we're called. You know, as we like to call ourselves now. We like to go against the grain. We complain about officials and all this, that, and the other since we got promoted. But it's absolutely nonsense that Palace are still kind of. They've whipped up this storm to get people on their side within the media. Oh, it's just absolutely ridiculous. The fact that they're not sorting it out until after the draw's made is just. I mean, from what I understand at the minute, Palace are in the Conference League, aren't they? So the ball will come out with Palace on, but it could be us that plays that match. I just think it's complete nonsense, and I think Steve Parish has got a lot to answer for how he's conducted himself. I get that he might not have been aware, but there's all this stuff with the email address not working and stuff like that, so they missed out on all the emails. And that's just not acceptable. It's a professional football club, a professional organisation. It's just ridiculous. It's just what I would say to finish is that I'm quite relaxed which competition we're in. I think Palace fans seem to have it in their heads that we're desperate for that Europa League place. I mean, yeah, your 8 games in the group stage are a lot more glamorous in the Europa League, but are we going to win the Europa League? As Tottenham found out, you need a lot of luck with the draw. Whereas I think the Conference League, if you get through that playoff and get into the group stage, then you're pretty well set. So yeah, I'm pretty relaxed as a Forest fan. I don't know if we're all in the same boat with that.
Yeah, I mean, the only people I feel sorry for, and I mean, it's not every single Palace fan because they're not shone themselves in a great light, but it is the fans. They're the ones who are getting punished at the end of the day. I mean, some of them have not themselves very much justice, unfortunately, but yeah, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for our supporters because we're getting tarnished with this brush that is, I don't know, it's just a load of rubbish, to be honest. So it's causing a lot of riff online, but some people enjoy that. I guess it makes it a little bit more interesting from when we play each other in the first couple of games of the season. Same when we play Spurs and probably Newcastle to an extent. So no, it's good in that sense. But like, yeah, the fact that it's going past when the draw's done is ludicrous because it has affected both sides' transfer windows at the end of the day, and that is unfair on both teams. But Christian, what's your whole view on it as well?
Yeah, difficult to disagree with anything Lee said there. Really. The rest is football. Interview was just laughable. I watched about 10 minutes of it and just stopped. I couldn't do it anymore. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's like when a child has like drops like a lollipop or something and starts screaming and crying and kicking everything around rather than accepting that it actually dropped it to begin with, sort of thing. Yeah, you feel sorry for them because they've dropped it. They've been put out, but ultimately, if you're being completely cold, it's kind of their own fault. This isn't much different. Like you can't just ignore the rules because you think you're not part of it. How stupidly naive can you be when 3 of your owners own other co-owners, own other clubs or have shares in other clubs, and you're going, oh yeah, we can't possibly be part of an MCO. Of course, you're part of one. Even by association, you're part of one. Why would you not go through the relevant paperwork? It just makes no sense to me at all. Like the cries for help, the bleating, everything else, all the process, etc., etc. Yeah, I completely understand the fan fury, but aim it at your owners. It's not nothing to do with us. It would like you said, it wouldn't have mattered if it was anyone else in 7th place. It was us. If it was Everton, if it was Aston Villa, if it was Man United. Actually, Man United probably even more of a stink, to be honest, because they'd be like, oh, look, they're benefiting the bigger clubs, the Sky Six. Rah, rah, rah. It's their own fault. That's the bottom line. This is their own fault. This is the mess of their own making, and yeah, you can try and blame us for that all you like. Be my guest. It doesn't change anything. It's still your own fault, and you can try and shirk responsibility as much as you like. It won't change the matter of fact that you haven't done the relevant paperwork. You've ignored all the emails. You've ignored all the correspondence sent to you by the Premier League back in October, sent to you by UEFA repeatedly in January as well. And you can try and kick all that at Forest away as much as you like. It won't stick. It won't land. This is your own fault. Much like Lee said, though, if Cass do have this sort of bizarre moral sense of conscience or whatever it is, and they do feel that it's unfair and they reverse the roles back, so be it. If it's Conference League, it's Conference League. Yeah, okay. It's like I said, we sort of accepted it, didn't we? Once the dust settled of a 38-game season, we accepted it. So whatever happens. Europa League would be great. Aside, just from a match going perspective or anything else, you go into places with regular 3,000s capacity away ends at a minimum rather than 300s. So it'll be easier to watch Forest abroad. But no, I mean, I have no sympathy at all for Paris. Like you, Adam, feel for their fans, or the bulk of them. Obviously, I hope Talks the EPFC is an absolute flood of tears when that cash report comes back. I'm being perfectly honest, when that live streamed and plastered all over bloody, Times Square. But unfortunately, the rest of them get a bad name because of clowns like that. I feel bad for them. It must be a bit of a sickener that you win the FA Cup, your only major run in the entire history, and you don't get your full rewards for that. That's unfortunate. But again, take it up with your owner, take it up with your chairman, who refused to jump through the hoops that he was meant to jump through. No one else's fault but his.
Yeah, I mean, David did say we can 100% win the Conference League, though, Christian and boys. Yeah, we'd probably be one of the favourites. So yeah, I can completely understand that. I mean, yeah, someone else, James Cunningham's thought I could see Glasson leaving early in 1 year, and then D's also made a fairly good point. I think good manager. It's Nuno under pressure if we don't get off to a good start. And to be fair, with the several first few league games that we have got, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, when we spoke to an Everton fan a few years ago, he always said you're only 3 games away from a crisis. And we will probably assess the start of our season next week, I believe, because we are going to be 1 week away from that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting chat between now and then. A lot can change, as we know in football. It always seems to do that. But if there's nothing else to say, chaps, we will wrap it up here. Please do consider dropping a like and subscribe for us. It goes a long way. Everything is free to an extent because we do have membership on YouTube and Patreon, so do consider that. It's only £1 at a minimum, or 99p on YouTube, £1 on Patreon. Couldn't make it any lower, so please do consider joining. We'll have plenty of stuff on there going forward. Christian, what you got to say?
Just one more thing on the whole pre-season thing. So again, I'm seeing it through the fan base. It's starting to annoy me now. this time last year, we beat Chesterfield. Yeah, we lost to Elche. We drew with Villarreal and missed a penalty. We only won our last game against Olympiacos because that's the last pre-season game we had. And look how we started the season. Yeah, again, we're sort of missing the fact that in Portugal as well, much like last year, they're doing double sessions before these evening games. They're going to be knackered. Trust the manager has got us into position. We'll be fine.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's preparing us for everything. Double sessions. Probably that's why Aina can't run no more. You know what he's like. His energy bar is terrible. But no, thank you very much for joining us on a Sunday morning. 427 people in there at the moment. Do drop us a like and follow us on everything, every social media platform: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, and YouTube. And until then, we'll see you in the week. Come on, you Reds.